Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is a candidate for School Board Director Position 5 in Springfield, Oregon, and an academic advisor at the UO Pathway Oregon program, Kelly Mason. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is really cool. I've learned about you through my work with the Democratic Party of Lane County. I'm a precinct committee person. And one of the things that I was most impressed with was early on in your campaign, your ability to not answer a question if you were not ready. And I think that's really a skill that I'm impressed with. So thanks again for doing this. Today, this is part one of a three-part series on, I'm calling Meet the Candidates. Every time there's an election, especially a midterm election, it's really important. I want to bring on people in our area to kind of familiarize my listeners. And so I'm bringing you on and we're going to get to know you a little better today. So these will be kind of short and sweet, but anybody listening, make sure that you tune in, whether it's on YouTube or whatnot, or, you know, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, if you're listening, and you check for the other episodes because there's going to be 3 drops today. So this is a big undertaking. So let's get right into it. First of all, what motivated you to run for the school board?
Yeah, so it all kind of started with, well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. So in 8th grade, I served as the student body president at Hamlin Middle School in Springfield, Oregon. And that's kind of where I discovered my passion for leadership and community. And ever since then, I've been looking for opportunities to become more involved. I currently serve as the chair of the Community Development Advisory Committee of Springfield, where we advise City Council on the spending of CDBG and home funds for community development. And then that kind of led to a couple other community members who saw me and recognized me and saw I had some spunk and was ready to go, a young person who would have a big voice in our community. They encouraged me to apply for the City Council vacancy in Springfield because Mayor Van Gordon was appointed to that position. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and that was honestly a really wonderful experience. I felt really supported by my community. I felt empowered as a young woman with a kind of a different background than maybe some other people who serve in local government. And when my colleague, actually Damian Pitts, was appointed, he's an academic advisor at the U of O too, which is kind of funny. It was really humbling and awesome to just kind of see the community really advocate for some different perspective. And so from there, I said, okay, what can I do to still be involved and get engaged in my community? And it just so happened that this school board position was an opening that the election, it was all coming really fast, right? And so I quickly decided, this is the perfect way to kind of mesh my 2 passions of public service and education together and really make everything come full circle. I know that for me, it took a village of teachers and staff and even the janitor, Harry at Springfield High, shout out to Harry, who really molded me and guided me and led me to the path that I'm on now. And so I want to bring that same love and passion back to the community and kind of help the next generation of students be engaged citizens and you know, get the best education that they can.
We're going to talk today a lot about links to find out more about you, because this is, like I said, going to be a short and sweet interview. But kellymason.nationbuilder.com is a website with more information, and also facebook.com/friends of Kelly Mason. Both of those links will be in the show notes too, so people can click after they watch or listen to this. I love the fact that you went to Hamlin Middle School and Springfield High. I also am a Hamlin alumni. It's gone, you know, they've tore it down, but it was a great school. And my time there, it was incredible because it's very humble. And I think when you talked about you're maybe different than the typical person in public office, I think is it because of the fact that you come from a single parent home? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I was getting at the fact that I think I'm the youngest person to ever run for the Springfield School Board. And you can fact check me on that. It's kind of hard to find that information, but one of the youngest, if not the youngest. I come from a low income single parent home. My dad passed away when I was 9. And so my mom did a lot of my upbringing on her own. I was a first generation college student, kind of all of the things that set you up to these obstacles, right? In education that I was able to overcome with the support of not only my mother, of course, but like I said, all of the teachers and
Sure.
staff.
Yeah, it takes a village. I always like to mention Katie Porter. Katie Porter is one of my political heroes, and she's a single mom in as a congresswoman, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what do you think you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think I'd like to highlight that I'm bilingual, hablo español. And so I have strong ties to the Latinx community in Springfield. And I think that I can really be a source of connection for parents, students, and families to make sure that they feel heard, that they feel honored, they feel respected. I bring a sense of cultural competency with me that I think will be really helpful on the school board as we kind of strive to serve marginalized students in this population that's quickly growing in Springfield. And I know that Emilio is also on the school board, and I hope that we can be good partners and allies as we advocate for these students. So I think I bring that. I think I bring a fresh perspective as a young female, a progressive perspective. I'm currently studying for my MPA, my Master in Public Administration. And so at the U of O, they really value immersing us in this coursework and giving us the best of the best and the newest of the newest in public administration. And so I think I'll kind of bring that recent education with me and these strategies that I have for public administration and public service that will be great for the school board. But I also think I'll be a listening ear. Definitely.
Yeah, and working as an academic advisor currently at the U of O, the school board would you say the school board's primarily focused on early education, like high school and below?
The Springfield School Board, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
K-12.
So I think that's really useful because my next interview is going to be with Anthony Reed, and we're going to talk a little bit about vocational school, but with college prep, it's so vital. You know what I mean? And so I think that your experience in that could pay dividends. We're going to talk about your campaign slogan. You've got 3 main bullet points. I guess the question was, once in office, what's your number one priority? But your 3 campaign bullet points is pathways, equity, and vision. Let's start with pathways.
Yeah. And so what I mean by pathways is kind of like a play on words, because I'm a Pathway Oregon advisor. I was a pathways recipient, and kind of thinking about pathways for education.
What is no, you said real quick, what with pathways, you said that you were a recipient of the program. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so Pathway Oregon is a scholarship for low income Oregon residents who are graduating from Oregon high school to receive a full tuition scholarship at the University of Oregon. So it covers all of tuition for all 4 years. Students never have to pay a penny.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, on your website and on your Facebook page, there's a lot more information on that. So I encourage anybody to tune into or to check into that. Let's talk about equity. How are some ways local schools can create equity for marginalized students? Now, you had mentioned being bilingual, but expand on that.
Yeah, I think it's important when we talk about equity that we really give concrete examples so people that can put that in perspective, right? And so in order to make Springfield schools a safe place, an equitable place, I think there's a lot of things that the school board can do. We can enhance engagement for Spanish-speaking families. That includes activities. We can work to remove school resource officers, which have proven to be not so equitable in that they tend to target BIPOC students of color specifically, and they disproportionately affect Black and Brown students. We can provide regular time and space to foster community learning regarding equity and those issues. Also, we can create meaningful and ongoing opportunities for diverse perspectives and voices to engage in the decision-making process.
Yeah, we talked a little bit off air, and I didn't know if I was going to talk to you about it, but I kind of want to bring it up because I think it's interesting. Kendrick Lamar. So Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize for writing, for poetry, and I think he's the first hip hop artist of all time, to do this. And North Eugene High School, I'm not exactly sure the full story, but North Eugene High School, I guess, had someone made a decision to remove it from the curriculum. Now, this is in Eugene and not in Springfield, but if this question came up, what would you say on what the benefits could be to teaching, hip hop, not just hip hop culture, but hip hop content, the content of, because I mean, he talks about really hard hitting issues.
I think the first thing I would say is it's really important not to silence Black voices, especially now, and especially with the recent happenings in Springfield and everything with Black unity and the protests this past summer. We have to work to encourage those voices. And if we're silencing them and not sharing the Black experience in the way that they feel comfortable sharing, that kind of limits students from seeing what they can do. And so adding that to the curriculum is not only going to perk students' interest with a name they're familiar with, that they respect, but also kind of bringing that Black experience in the way that they want to share. I've learned that listening to Black people and how they want to lead is important, and so I don't think that we should silence that.
No, absolutely. I mean, hip hop is one of those things too. And of course, in the Black community, it's not monolithic. It's not like everybody that's Black is into hip hop, But that being said, it's just without hip hop music, I don't know if we would be where we are. I know we have a ton of work to do, but we've made progress as a society. And I think hip hop has a lot to do with it because it's painted a picture of what it's like to live in an urban environment, and us here in Springfield, Oregon, that's definitely not our experience, as far as the experience of maybe living in like Detroit or Compton or, so it's really taught us a ton. I mean, I think they should be teaching Tupac. I think they should be teaching, all this stuff. And you can talk about guys like Tupac in a way that it's like, yeah, he was a troublesome character, but that being said, he's a product of his environment. So I think there's a lot to be discussed there. And I think it's really cool and that you would bring a fresh perspective that would at least entertain those concepts. And you hit it on the head about let's not silence these voices,
Yeah.
So
thank you for asking the question.
Yeah. What would you like to see changed? I think we just touched on it a little, but maybe we can go a different direction. What would you like to see changed with how education is being ran in Lane County?
So it's not so much change, but improve, I guess, is how I want to answer that. But I just want to see graduation rates, high school graduation rates go up. Oregon in particular has some of the lowest graduation rates in the nation, and they have been improving, and I want to continue on that momentum. And I think that really means, especially post-COVID and after this pandemic, meeting students where they are. I think that we need to bring more mental health professionals into our schools and make sure that we're addressing those issues as students reintegrate into schools. And that goes for teachers and staff too, making sure they feel comfortable and ready to go. But really seeing those graduation rates improve is something I'd like to see change. And that's something we need to work on in addition to the equity piece, which I know that we already touched on, but I think it's not enough to just talk about it. I think it needs to be something we reevaluate in our policies, in our practice, and in action. And that means bringing those voices to the table.
I think I forgot to mention your third bullet point of the campaign slogan. So vision.
Yeah.
So let's talk about vision.
Yeah. So for vision, I really enjoy the concept of collaboration, and collaborative governance is something I've researched a lot. And so my vision is to have enhanced collaboration for the Springfield School District in order to improve the overall success of our students. And so the action item for that is to empower students, to encourage them to contribute to the decision-making process and have a say in their own education. And like I talked about the pandemic, addressing those challenges as we move forward. We might not know what all of those are going to be. And so our vision is to improve graduation rates, improve access to technical education and careers, and kind of propel us forward in a progressive way.
So now the pandemic, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
What has been, this is tough because I think it constantly, for me, my take on if we should have in-person learning currently, like right now, it changes almost daily on how I think about it. So how has that process been for you? I mean, early on in it, and then where we're at today, how has that process evolved and where do you stand on it?
That's a hard question. I would say that we all want to see students go back to school when it's safe. And while rates of COVID have been going down in Lane County and Springfield, and that's really exciting, people are getting vaccinated, teachers and staff are getting vaccinated. I've had my first vaccination. I think that gives hope. I think that's like the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And the plan, I'm assuming, is to have students fully, schools reopened hopefully next fall. And I think that's a great goal. I think there's some work that needs to be done between now and then to fully, I know schools have been slowly reopening and there's a little bit of that happening. And I think that's great as long as we can do it safely. And I think the school board is going to need, that's probably going to be one of our biggest issues for the next year or so. And I have a lot to learn, but I think I'm going to be a listener, but my stance is, while distance learning was a great alternative and we needed to keep students on the right track throughout this process, hopefully we can get them back into schools as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a tough thing because, like you had said, the numbers were going down, and I think that's the public sentiment, but I think that they're actually starting to go back up.
I saw that.
So, and it's really scary. My girlfriend is, she's a data analyst for the county, and she is, so I hear it every single day, the numbers, and she's, banging her head against the wall. She's been helping organize the mass vaccination clinics at the fairgrounds. On a side note, I heard something funny. When you get a shot, it's called getting your Fauci ouchie. So you've received some really big name endorsements from local people. I wanted to list some of those. The Democratic Party of Lane County, unanimous endorsement. County Commissioner Joe Burney, House Representative John Lively, Labor Commissioner Val Hoyle, Mike Eister, who not only has endorsed you, Mike Eister ran for mayor of Eugene. He was defeated, but he is a great voice in our community, and he's board for the LCC board. And he not only endorsed you, he sent out a personal email to everybody in the DPLC talking about why, and it was lengthy. And then Steve Moe, city councilor. I just wrote down a few. There's some I couldn't even list because there's a lot. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, who in the local community are some of your biggest mentors and inspirations?
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Mike. He's definitely been a great mentor for me throughout this process. Like you said, he recently went through a similar process himself. And because his position at LCC is uncontested, he's been able to focus a lot of his energy towards my campaign, which I'm super grateful for. And he's kind of teaching me the ropes. And then I have to shout out Tony McCown. He's my greatest mentor. He's the one who pushed me to apply for this position, and he's been guiding me throughout the way. He is my campaign chair. And so he kind of has been encouraging me every time I'm nervous. He's able to calm me down, and he's really kind of laid out the groundwork for me to be successful in this campaign, because it is a quick turnaround, and he made sure we hit the ground running. So
yeah. I mentioned LCC board, and I got to be honest, I don't know what they do. So next week, I'm going to have Chris Wigg on. And one of the things I'm going to talk to him about, Chris Wigg is the chair of the Democratic Party, and he knows everything. So he's got his finger on the pulse. So it'll be one of the things that we discuss. I'd like to get Mike on the show too, and I'm sure that's a possibility. So, you had mentioned that this has been a quick turnaround. Give me a time frame. When did this whole thing start? And to where we're at today. Today, it's what, April 17th. So when did this whole thing start?
So the deadline to file was March 18th. I filed, I think, a couple days before that. And so about a month ago, and the election's on May 18th. And so it's only a couple months. I think at the beginning, we were like, okay, we have 7 weeks, and we're doing this week countdown. I think we're closer to 4 weeks now. And so it all started right after I found out on that night that city council appointed Damien. I was like, okay, I have to have my next move. I really want to be involved, and I'm ready to go. And so I made the decision shortly after that.
I asked Damien the same thing. What does your mom think about all this? She's got to be extremely proud.
I think my mom's going to come to the phone bank today. Oh, nice. Yeah. So she's super excited. She can't even believe it, and she brags about me to all her clients. She's a housekeeper. She cleans houses for a living. And so she's got everyone voting for me too.
That is awesome. And, you've put in the work, but there's a testament to the kind of character of your mom. I don't know her, but knowing what I know about you, it says a lot about what she did. So So that's pretty special. And Damien's answers were great. I encourage anybody. I've got so many episodes now that people forget. There's stuff that gets lost. And Damien Pitts was a great interview. You could listen to what he says about his parents, because that was a whirlwind. He went from living here for 4 years to being on city council, and he's amazing. So again, kellymason.nationbuilder.com, and then facebook.com/friends of Kelly Mason. All three of these episodes, I'm going to plug the website Educational Equity Now, which is actually geared towards students with exceptionalities. That's a good friend of mine and his wife that are organizers of that website, and it's getting built up and created. And I really encourage anyone to check that out, educationalequitynow.com. But in the show notes of this episode, like I said, there'll be links to more about your campaign. Facebook is a very useful tool when you're following campaigns, because you can follow the page and you can see all of the updates. Like you had just alluded to, today you're going to be doing phone banking.
Yep.
Funny story, I had someone call me asking if I would help phone bank with the Kelly Mason campaign, and I'm like, I can't that day because I'm going to be recording podcasts with Kelly Mason. So and they were like, oh, okay, well then, so you've got a cool team working, and they're working hard. And the guy on the phone was really pleasant and great. I personally refuse to call people. I'm terrible at it. Ironically, it's funny, but I do my own thing. We have a really, really cool umbrella in this community of people and a big tent. And I think there's some really exciting things happening, and people being motivated to step up like yourself, young people, and fresh perspectives. And it's really exciting. So Kelly Mason, it's really an honor to talk to you. I wish I had more time. Once you win this seat, we'll get you back on and we can talk about, you can use me as a platform to reach the community in any way possible. So thank you very much. And I'm going to end this with a song. And this is an awesome song. This is local talent, Samantha Schaffner. She goes by Sam Girl. This is the song One Touch.
Baby, won't you come on over, maybe say the words that I've been thinking. Oh, and usually I don't get like this, but right now I feel such a mess, I'm barely breathing. And when you kiss me slow, I feel a rush, and then I reach the point of no return. So take me down, baby, won't you take me down? Show me what my love's worth. One touch. I'm in love. So I need you to see